April is Earth Month. If there is one thing I've learned, it's that quality is sustainability. Think about it. When you invest in well-made, durable products, you're not just buying something that lasts longer. You're keeping waste out of landfills and reducing the need for constant replacements. That's exactly why I love Avocado Green Mattress. Avocado mattresses are crafted with the highest quality certified organic materials and expert craftsmanship. They're also climate neutral certified, meaning every purchase helps reduce carbon emissions and supports a healthier planet. Avocado mattresses offer easy financing options with Affirm, sleep trials up to 1 year, and generous warranties for your peace of mind. The best part is that you can try before you buy. You can visit one of their retail stores or premier retail partners to experience the comfort firsthand. Head to avocadomattress.com today and save up to 10% on certified organic mattresses. Dream of better for you and the planet.
Are you too busy to pick out the perfect outfit every day? I get it. It's tough to juggle work, life, and still find the time to focus on fashion. That's where Armoire comes in. With a clothing rental membership, you can effortlessly turn heads with stylish, everyday looks tailored just for you. With all of our book events and photo ops recently, I've rented all my outfits from Armoire. It's been so fun and so great to not have to buy a whole new wardrobe, but also be on trend and even experiment with some different styles. All I did was take a quick 5-minute style quiz, build a personalized closet, and wait for high-quality, unique pieces delivered to my door in as little as 2 days. Oh, and did I mention that Armoire is women-founded and women-led? Right now, our listeners can give Armoire a try and get up to 50% off their first month. That's up to $125 off. Just visit armoire.style/dateable. That's Armoire, spelled ARMOIRE.style/DATEABLE to get up to 50% off your first month and never worry about what to wear again. Try Armoire today. Hi, I'm Yue Xu.
And I'm Julie Kraftchick.
We're active daters turned dating insiders.
Here to dive into everything modern dating and relationships.
Welcome to Dateable. Hello, friends.
Welcome back to another episode of Dateable, where it's just the two of us.
Just the two of us.
I know every single time that song goes off.
Is that Will Smith?
Yeah, it is. It's from that movie. What was the movie that he was in with his son? Do you remember that?
Two of us. Da, 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 da. No, not The Pursuit of Happiness. Oh, man. People are like screaming at us right now. It's that movie. I can't. I haven't thought about Will Smith in so long since he's been canceled.
I know. I was going to say, is he even like a thing right now?
He's not a thing in my mind until now, until this song.
Until every duo episode. That's my reminder of Will Smith.
Damn it. We need a new song. Super tangent. The other day I was like, 3 little birds sitting on my window or whatever it was. And then my man friend was like, oh, I love that song. And we started singing and we were singing totally different songs. We were like, wait, what? What song are you singing?
What were you saying?
I was singing,
I could like hear it.
Da 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 da. It's a Colby Kaye. Do you remember Colby Kaye?
I think. Okay, which one did he think it was?
Da 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 da.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. He was singing a Bob Marley song.
Okay. That's amazing. How long did it take you to figure out is the better question?
After we finished the verse.
You're both like, and now on 3, and then totally different lyrics.
It was the most hilarious moment because we're both like jamming. We're like, oh my gosh, we're so attuned. And then we're like, so not.
Oh, amazing.
Funny moments.
That might seem like a tangent, but it actually very much relates to our topic today. I'm bringing it back. We want to talk about, because people always wonder, like, am I with the right person? And, we get into these checklists and ways to evaluate. And sometimes it can be as simple as, laughing because you literally are singing 2 different songs. But we also have a gut check that we share in our book, in our Investing Appropriately chapter, which is near the end. So if you haven't got there yet, it's okay. okay? We're not giving too much away. And if you haven't bought the book, this is a plug to go get How to Be Dateable, out now. But we love this section about the only 7 things that matter when assessing a partner and seeing if someone could be right for you. And the key is could be, because only with time do you fully know. But we did want people to have kind of a tangible gut check that they could turn to in those early stages of dating and when things are progressing and when you're actually defining the relationship.
Why so many people wonder about this is because we do have so many options and we do have so much advice floating out there. If you know, you know, or you should feel a certain way around the right person. We're giving you a list of very tangible things to look at when it comes to looking at a partner. And in fact, when our editor read the section, she was like, this could just be a book in itself. It is just so tangible. And I actually love this one as just a reminder for myself, too, because sometimes you get caught up in all the shit that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And then this is the shit that actually does matter, and it moves a needle, and it does determine if you are compatible together or not.
And I think this works for all the dating archetypes, because the thinker, for instance, can have the long laundry list, right? And never know if someone is right for them. So what's good about this? 7 things. Simplifies it. Can't get into that state of analysis paralysis. The energizer, for instance, may never take the bait to say, like, is this person someone that could be good for me, or am I just getting wrapped up in the chemistry?
And I still hate the whole, like, if you know, you know, and if they wanted to, they would. These are all so out of our control. And the 7 things puts the control back in your hands to understand, like, okay, I only need to look at what I have control over.
I think like the when you know is so painful to me, because what are you basing that on? Like when you know what? That could just be like your old patterns. Like you could be like, oh my God, I feel the butterflies. But that's just because that's the pattern you're used to, feeling that high. And then when the low happens, you could be like, well, this is part of the course. This is normal. It's still the right person. And it's not like critical thinking in any way. It's just going on this, like, I guess, past or also ambiguous feeling.
Yeah, that should be renamed to You Only Know What You Know.
Yeah, you only know what you know. I love it.
It's true. We only know what we know. We only base it off of things that our own experiences. But this list grounds you back to not just what you're used to and your behaviors and what you default to. It's more of a compass to guiding you to the right person.
Compass is a good way to put it. So we are going to reveal 6 of them in today's episode.
Because we like the number 6, okay? It's an even number. We each get to talk about 3, okay? No, it's really, the 7th one is a surprising one. It is one that you will have to read in our book or listen to in our audiobook. It is also a very important one, but we're giving away 6, which is plenty to go off of.
Yes, but again, you can get it all on the book, so make sure to get it. And then also, just to support us, before we go into the 7 things, I do want to read a couple of DMs that we've gotten recently about the book, because they have truly warmed my heart so much. We got one that was in response to our story when we were at Books Inc. holding up the book. And Victoria wrote, I cannot tell you how amazing your book is. Game changer. Thank you. So that was really nice to read. But we do really love when you send these in. It's hard because we don't know who's listening. We don't know who's reading. So it really is that loop that really helps us be like, oh, this is affecting people. This is helping people. And we love it. So we also got one from Alana, who just said, I love the book and podcast. Thank you so much. And then she was asking about more SF book signings coming up.
Yay. Love those.
Okay. Well, shall we get into it then? Number 1.
Number 1 of the 7 things that matter when you're looking for a partner. Are they consistent? We've talked about this. We've consistently talked about this one before on our show.
This one is the baseline. Like, I feel like even the 7, without this one, like, it almost doesn't even matter the other ones. Because, like, if you don't have consistency, like, there's no foundation for a relationship. And I think I learned that the hard way over the years when I was with wildly inconsistent people that, you know, they didn't text when they said they would. One day they want to be in a relationship. The next day they didn't. You know, like, things that just like were all over the map, that just doesn't ground you and doesn't give you the safe space to like actually open up and have a real relationship with someone.
Consistency creates predictability, which then creates that safety and stability. And sometimes we mistaken that consistency and predictability for boredom. I'm bored. This person's boring, or this person's not interesting. It's the opposite. They are actually bringing you peace into your life so you don't have to predict their next move. But also be careful. Consistency in the way they treat you is also telling if they consistently treat you poorly.
Yes.
That they can also be consistently an asshole, and that gives you information that they're not the right person.
Right. I guess with all of these, yeah, like it's what the gut check is. But if you get information that isn't serving you, then now you have concrete evidence. I just remember we did this episode with one of our Instagram friends, Meredith. Do you remember this? About like growing through relationships, and she shared just kind of her struggles, and now she's like actually with a wonderful partner. And I remember her asking me on the episode, like, what made you know your partner was like the one, which was kind of funny because like no one had really turned it before. And I remember saying like the consistency bit, and then like as I was saying it, I was like, this sounds so boring. And like clearly it's more than just that. Like that was again the baseline. But then the more I thought about it, I was like, the reason why it was so important is because I wasn't like agonizing over the things that I typically did at the start. Like I wasn't thinking about like, oh, when are they going to text me back? And like texting all my friends and getting their input and, you know, ruminating about just like the stages, like building up to dating. I was actually just dating and connecting, and had the breathing room because that other stuff wasn't occupying my space at all. I was able to focus my attention to him and getting to know him and building a bond with him, and vice versa.
Yeah, consistency established that baseline so you can focus on building and the things that actually matter in a relationship. And I know sometimes you all are like, there are no butterflies, or I really wasn't feeling the chemistry, or I really didn't want to, you know, I didn't feel compelled to kiss this person. Well, it's probably your nervous system saying like, you're pretty calm right now.
Yeah.
You don't need to jump into anything super emotional or anything super erratic. Like, let's just be calm in this. And I've always said like the right relationship for me brings me that calm and peacefulness that I don't normally feel in the beginning of relationships. And that usually comes from someone consistently showing up the way they said they would show up.
I also feel like a relationship needs momentum, especially at the early stages of dating. Like if you're going on one date every 4 weeks, the odds of it dying out are very high, in my opinion. I think with consistency, like when you are seeing someone on a consistent basis, whatever you two deem that is like a good amount for you. Like I feel like, again, with my partner, like we were seeing, like I knew when we were going on the next date on the date. And I knew that was happening. And it just like, it felt like there was a lot of momentum forward. So again, I wasn't worried about that stuff and was again focused on like creating inside jokes and memories and like fun part of dating, like the falling in love bit.
I think it's funny that Meredith asked you that question before you got engaged. She called it. She's like, this is it. This is it for you, Julie. I feel it.
I mean, I think even without like that label, like you can tell when a relationship feels different. Yeah. And I think a consistent relationship feels different. It just feels like something that like, it's like obviously you don't expect like the person to be like your whole world on day one, but when they're consistently showing up, it feels like they are becoming a part of it.
Yeah, like it takes the guesswork out of what you think their actions are going to be. So it leaves you room for getting to know them for who they are.
So if someone wasn't showing up consistently, let's say you were hypothetically dating someone, or I mean, we both have dated people that haven't shown up
Oh, yeah,
consistently.
plenty of times.
It doesn't even have to be hypothetical. Knowing what you know now, how would you handle that situation? Like, let's say you were going out, and then all of a sudden they kind of were being flaky or it just wasn't at the same level. Would you confront them? Would you just peace? Like, what would be your take on it?
I think we have to honor people for where they are and what they choose to do, and you can't control that. So I gave that example of the blind date I was being set up on, where we didn't even meet up in person. It was just a bunch of texting back and forth trying to meet up, and he just couldn't lock down a time or a day or follow through. So my final text to him was, "It's been nice getting to know you through text. I really appreciate consistency in not only my relationships, but also just baseline my friends and the people I surround myself with. So sounds like we're not aligned on that, and I really appreciate getting to know you. Best of luck."
Yeah, no, I've definitely sent texts like that before. I've given people like an opportunity to step up sometimes. I guess it depends on the situation and how annoyed you are also. But I think when you're sending it, you know that like if it was already consistent and great, you wouldn't be sending that text to begin with. I remember like we have our text scripts on Instagram, and there's one about like when someone's not showing up consistently, and it was like saying like, "Hey, this is important to me, blah, blah, blah. And if it's not you, cool, but I'm going to like go out and find someone." And there were people that was like, "That's manipulative." And like, because it obviously those texts those Instagram posts tend to expand way beyond our following to all pockets of the internet. And I just remember being like, okay, like you have a right to your opinion. Sure. If you don't want to say a text, like do what's right for you. But I don't think it's meant to be manipulative. It's meant to state your needs. And if someone can't meet them, then, you're on to find someone that will. And I think with sending that text, it's more about like giving yourself that peace to like move on than to like try to manipulate someone to like change their mind. And again, if you're the type of person that like doesn't need to send a text and can just be like, okay, they're not showing up consistently, I'm moving on. Good for you. Great. But like a lot of times we see that people just ruminate instead of getting it out. And I think at least it closes the door.
I think it's good to just name it. And I think it's good to name it and honor it. Some people, like, you think everybody wants to be consistent. No. There are plenty of people who will get that message and say, "Oh, yeah, I just don't have the capacity to show up consistently for her right now."
That's
like,
fine.
They don't feel that way. So why not name it for them? And then they don't feel guilty. Like, okay, that's out of my capacity. Great.
Just
instead
want
of
different
blaming
things.
them. Yeah. You're not blaming them. You're not like you're being a terrible person, or you're not saying anything that's accusatory. It's like we're just not aligned on the type of behavior we want in a relationship.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not like a fan of excuses because I really do think people generally make time for what they want. Or if they really don't have the capacity, then it's probably the wrong person if it's the wrong time. But I do like, I remember like giving this person that I'm thinking of kind of like an out in the sense of like, if there's something going on with timing, the person had a lot of like reasons why he couldn't be consistent. Like it was family things going on, like nothing I really knew what it was, but like vague kind of reasons. Work is busy, whatever. So I was kind of like, well, if things settle down, like you can definitely reach out again, but like I'm not going to like, obviously I'm not going to like put my life on hold. So we'll have to see what happens then. And I think though, like this person like was very receptive and responsive back. Like they weren't like, "Oh, you're an asshole for saying that." Like they were like, "Yeah, I will." But like you were saying, it's clear to me right now, like I don't have the capacity.
Yeah. And I think when you voice that need, it makes the other person take you more seriously. I hate to say this, but like it makes them think about you more intentionally.
That guy would have continued to do what he was doing for another couple of months and string me along 100%.
Absolutely. I was on the receiving end of this when a guy was like, "Oh, you're unpredictable and I really like it when you show up consistently," whatever it is. And when I realized I wasn't that into the relation or that into us, I called it early so that I don't have to string. I knew that I wasn't capable of showing up for him the way he wanted. So I pieced out early versus like just letting things drag, which is what most people do because it's so much easier to just let things drag.
I also think it's telling if you can have a conversation with someone
Yeah.
because I've actually realized, I think I'm generally a consistent person. Like, I show up when I say I will and do things. But there have been times that my partner feels like I haven't been consistent in some parts. Like, I'll say one thing and do another. And I think, like, sometimes you can have a vision of yourself that you are acting in a consistent way. And someone might feel different because everyone's definitions are different. So I do think bringing it up to them in some form is good before just calling it completely, because if they can tell you like, nope, I can't do this, that's one thing. But also maybe it's a conversation of like, where can you meet in the middle? What is the expectation of consistency?
Yep.
Okay, before we go on to the second one, I want to take a quick break to hear from some of our sponsors.
Vacation season is nearly upon us, and this year I'm treating myself to the luxe upgrades I deserve with Quince's high-quality travel essentials at fair prices, like lightweight European linen styles from $30, with premium luggage options and stylish tote bags to carry it all. And what's music to my ears is that all Quince items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. By partnering directly with top factories, Quince cuts out the cost of the middleman and passes the savings on to us. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices. I love that. Now, for me, I've upgraded my travel outfit with the Quince Ultra Stretch Straight Leg Ponte Pants. They look like put together slacks, but feel like lounge pants. So perfect for long flights. For your next trip, treat yourself to the luxe upgrades you deserve from Quince. Go to quince.com/dateable for 365-day returns, plus free shipping on your order. That's QUINCE.com/dateable to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/DATEABLE. For so long, I viewed bras and shapewear as torture devices. Like, who invented them? But I've since changed my mind because I tried Skims. The Fits Everybody collection from Skims is like nothing I've ever tried before. Everything just molds to my body. Almost feels like I'm not wearing anything at all. Now, I've heard all about Skims for so long, and let me tell you, they sure live up to the hype. I've really enjoyed wearing the cheeky bikini underwear. It's like my go-to underwear because honestly, I just can't do thongs anymore. But this is the perfect combination of a no-show and comfy. And I also found the perfect color to match my skin. So the undies don't show through white pants. Yeah, finally. Shop Skims Ultimate Bra Collection and more at skims.com and Skims LA flagship on Sunset Boulevard. After you place your order, be sure to let them know we sent you. Select podcast in the survey and be sure to select our show, Dateable, in the drop-down menu that follows. Number 2, they bring out the best sides of you. Very much related to the consistency. I think baseline is consistency. Once you get there, then you can ask, oh, who is the person that I am when I'm around this person? Like, what do they bring out of me that I really like? And there are certainly people that when I'm around them, I'm like, oh, I love this version of myself. I'm so funny. I'm so confident. Or around other people, it's not even what they're doing or saying. It's the energy. They bring out this anxious side of me where I just shrivel up and I just don't want to be visible. And I'm like afraid to voice my opinion, not for anything they said. It's just the sides they bring out in you. It's good to watch out for that.
I think a lot of it is tied to consistency. I agree. But I do think there's another side of just, we are multifaceted and sometimes like we can be different around certain people than others. And I know that even with friends, like I'm a different version of myself. It's not like I'm not myself. And I think like not necessarily like one is better than the other with them, but then there's certain people like my partner that I'm like, oh, this is the authentic, true me. And I think that is so telling to like find that. I do remember I had a friend that, she was dating someone, he was inconsistent, but he was also bringing out like a drama side in her. And like, I think some of it was that he was just like very dramatic type of guy. And she was in turn becoming like that. And I remember when they were dating and she was like, in that cycle of like, oh, we're now not talking or we are talking again. And like, she was talking about like how she was like going to go on other dates to get back at this guy. And I'm like, is this really what you want to be doing right now? Like, let's take him out for a second. Like, is this actually the side of you that you want to be showing up? Because like with me or with other friends, you don't have drama. Like, why are you having it with this dude?
Yeah, isn't that wild that some people just bring out a side of you that nobody else does? And it's not always a good side.
No.
Like, whoa, I didn't know I had this in me. I remember just getting really angry with a partner. I don't have a temper at all. But there was a partner who brought out that side of me. And I was like, that's so weird, because that's the 8-year-old in me that I thought I had already addressed and gotten over. I was a very angry 8-year-old. But then this partner just brought out all these wounds in me. And I just was like outraged with everything that he was saying. And I couldn't believe that this is who he was bringing out in me. Obviously, we still have to work on ourselves. It does not mean that we have to blame other people for what they're bringing out of you. But there are some people who consistently bring out a side of you that you either love or hate.
Yeah. I think it's often ignored too in early dating because we think anxiety and insecurity like come with the territory. Like that's normal.
Yeah.
But I think it is concerning if you're constantly feeling insecure around someone, especially if they're not around.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, thinking back to the last relationship, Julie, you were with me in the beginning of that relationship where I felt really insecure because he was very undecided about what he wanted to pursue with me. So I remember just getting almost like a little bit petty with that. You know, I wanted other men's attention and I would actually go out with other guys just to feel more secure around this person because he was making me feel so insecure.
I also remember, I don't know if you remember this, like we were out at that gala and I was like, you're not acting like yourself.
Yeah, friends can always call it.
But that should have been like a sign in retrospect.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, everything is a sign in retrospect. Like hindsight is 2020 for sure. There were so many red flags from the start, but I just kept thinking this is the norm. This is the norm of a beginning of a relationship. When you really like someone and you really want to hold on to them, you should be feeling this anxiety, insecurity, and wanting to hold on to them and maybe be feeling a little petty and competitive. No, that's actually not normal.
I've heard this from people before. I don't remember who, so I'm sure a lot of people have said this. But anyways, like instead of like when you're evaluating a friend's new partner, instead of evaluating the person and like putting them under a microscope, just look at your friend and like see how they are acting. Like, are they the best version of themselves? Is this person making them feel comfortable and, they're showcasing a good side of them? I think that is so much more telling because ultimately too with our friends, like we don't need to date the person our friend is dating. So like we don't need to like their attributes. What's more important is like how does our friend feel with them?
Yeah, it's very telling. And hopefully we are all around friends who bring out the best in us so they can tell when our best selves are not showing up.
Well, that's another whole story if you're not, but yeah. Okay. Well, I think ultimately we need to just find people that don't trigger us in ways that aren't healthy or sustainable. Obviously, we can't blame people 100%. Like we have to take our own accountability, but we all know when someone isn't necessarily adding to our overall wellness. Okay. So number 3, there's sexual chemistry. And I think for most of us, like, of course, there's some exceptions here, but this sex is the difference between a friend and a romantic partner. And I almost feel like there's almost some shame of being like, I'm looking for sexual chemistry because like we've been almost like told to like intellectualize the list. But at the end of the day, like we want you to feel attracted to your partner.
Yes.
Like they don't need to be like the hottest person ever to exist. And you're like going for like unrelenting standards, but you should look at your partner and feel attracted to them. That is not too much to ask. And it's not also too much to ask for if you're with someone.
And it's the baseline of mating.
Yeah.
It's sex. It's procreation. So that is what creates relationships. Of course, it can't be the only thing that you have going on.
Right.
Then that's not a relationship. That's just sex. But it definitely has to be one part of it. And it doesn't have to. I think why we tend to shy away from this topic is that we feel like, oh, if I'm with the right person, I need to be having sex with them all the time and I need to want to jump their bones all the time. That's not what we're saying here. Sexual chemistry means that you are both wanting and attracted to each other to have sex, but also willing to talk about sex so that you can work on your love life. Your sex life is part of the conversation and part of your priorities. And it's not something you just sweep under the rug and never talk about.
I still remember the conversation that we had with Dr. Ian Kerner, who's the author of She Comes First. And when we had him as a guest on the podcast, he was saying that he saw a lot of people deprioritize sex and attraction, especially hetero men, which was really interesting. And I think part of it was that they had this belief that in a long-term relationship, you don't have sex anymore.
Yeah.
So maybe that shouldn't be the number one thing I'm looking for. And he was actually like, this is kind of concerning because, like, again, like it shouldn't be the whole relationship, but like sex is like a glue that holds the connection together. So to see people shying so far away from it was like that moment of him being like, this doesn't seem like it's healthy either.
And I hear some of our mom listeners who are saying, listen, after you have kids, you just don't, the sex drive, or many of the women I know in my age group who are going through perimenopause and menopause. Yes, your need for sex changes with hormones and life stages, but it is the willingness to talk about it with your partner and the openness and the safe space that you two create. That is what's important. Not how much sex you're having, but how much you're willing to address, the topic of sex openly with each other.
And I hear people too like, okay, well, does that mean there needs to be this intense sexual connection from the get-go when I first meet? And I think the answer is no. We've talked about this before.
No.
That does not need to be like the spark, and chemistry is not a telltale sign of a good relationship. But again, it should be at least a maybe or a somewhat intrigue. Like if you go to a date, you have no attraction to them, then like get out and save that person time. But I also think you can see if it grows over time too.
I think sexual chemistry can absolutely be built.
100%. I think there needs to be a baseline though. Like there can't be like starting from zero.
Yes. But don't start from 100 because
those fizzle out real fast.
You only go down from there. I remember being so sexually attracted to this guy I met at some random bar in New York. And then the next day we woke up, he's like, let's go to brunch. And the moment he opened his mouth talking, like, nope. I was like, no, I'm out. I'm good.
I have had two scenarios where it's grown successfully and then grown unsuccessfully.
Okay.
So the first one was a friend that I had no attraction to that was in my friend group. Like I did not see him like this at all. And then one day he made a move and then it grew like after we actually like, engaged in
penetrated.
I was trying to be all classy and you just went in.
Once you plugged it in.
But it grew over time, I guess. And then I had another scenario where I went on a date with a guy. The first date, I actually had a lot of chemistry, but I also had drank too much.
Yeah.
And then the second date, I felt like zero. But because like the first date, I had a lot, I was like, okay, let me just keep going. And he was a great guy. So I was like, I wasn't ready to discount it. And I kept going on dates. I think I went on like 8 dates total.
Wow.
And when like the time, like we did kiss, we never went further than that. But like when that would happen, like I wanted to try to kiss just to like see.
Yeah.
And then after that, I felt like a little cringe towards it.
Oh.
And I remember like we went to see a movie and you know how like there's like the armrests next to you, he's like, oh, should I lift this up? And I'm like, no, let's keep it down. And I was like, that is so not something I would normally do. So at that point, I was like, I need to call it because like it's not growing and I'm just getting like weirder, pulling away. Like none of it was a good situation. And also it was like, why would that guy want to be with someone that felt like that? I'm sure he's with someone that's so super crazy about him now.
So do you think the sexual chemistry was only there because of the alcohol?
Yes.
Oh.
And it was one of those situations too that was hard to wrap my head around because like he was an objectively attractive guy. There was nothing like wrong with him. But like I just didn't feel it.
You can't explain that.
Yeah. I guess like your current partner, you didn't see that way, but it was like context.
Yeah, definitely no, because we had been friends or quote unquote friends for almost 7 years before we hooked up. And I just remember feeling very platonic about him. But I think when it's just, this is so weird to say, but like when he started talking about his kids, I don't know if it's just like my reproductive system was like, ooh, it spoke to me somehow. But that's what made me feel more sexually attracted to him, probably because my body just biologically was like, oh, this man is a father. I don't know, this man can take care of babies. I don't know. But it definitely grew over time. And I will say in every relationship, except for the 2-year sexless relationship I had, it ebbs and flows, but it always comes back to a baseline attraction. It never dips down to zero.
Right. Well, the reason I brought yours up is because I think context is a big piece of it. And especially if like we have people in our lives that are like go from like coworker to potential romantic person or friend. And I also think like, I don't know, when I met my partner, it was a weird time. It was over COVID. So like we had our masks on and we weren't really touching or doing anything. It was just a very weird time. And I wouldn't say like there was like instant fireworks. It felt like a little more platonic. But like when he revealed his mask, when he pulled it down, I was like,
revealed his mouth.
When he revealed his mouth, when he revealed that mask, when he pulled down the mask, that's the better way to put it. When he pulled down the mask, I was like, oh, he's cute. He has a good smile.
Oh.
But I wasn't like, oh my God, I need to like, all this stuff. But I also was like, I don't want to touch anyone because it's COVID. But I think it like was good because it grew, like it definitely grew over time, but like at a healthy rate. But there was never a moment that I was like, ooh, I don't know,
Yeah. Baseline attraction. Next one. They can navigate conflict with you. This one I've had to learn the hard way.
It sounds so unsexy too.
It is. I mean, this list is somewhat unsexy except for the sexual attraction one, but that's the whole point. Can't all be sexy, okay? But having friction in a relationship in an early dating is inevitable. It's not the types of fights that you have, it's how you react to the conflict. And some people really want to do conflict with you and some people don't. So that's very telling.
I actually think the word conflict it's really taken me a long time to wrap my head around what this word means. So I think early stage, I would have just thought like fighting. But I actually think conflict is anytime there is any sort of friction. And in early dating, there's a ton of friction. Like when we don't get the text that we thought we were going to get, or there's a miscommunication of the person confirming the dates. All that is friction. I think what happens in early dating is we actually just don't address it.
Yeah.
Or we address it with our friends, or we address it with other people. And we make assumptions based off this person. Like, oh, they didn't confirm the date. They are a terrible, unreliable person. I should not go out with them. But we don't know like what that means to them. And the real work, I still think, would be to like unpack it a little. And that doesn't mean like you need to go to therapy with every last person you date. We're not saying that. But it's having one convo versus just shutting the door and learning where they're coming from and seeing again, will they work with you or not? And if they don't work with you, then you have your answer and you can move on and not wonder like, what if there was a miscommunication? There's no what ifs anymore.
I know that the honeymoon period in this first 6 months feels amazing, but I actually think it's the best time to bring in conflict.
Definitely. I agree.
And we tend to not do it because we want to see the best sides of everyone. And you're also bringing out the best sides of you. So any sign of conflict, we kind of just avoid it and go, pivot to the next conversation. But the first 6 months is when you should be understanding everybody's conflict styles, because then you can set up the system for how you navigate conflict. And the right partner for you will want to set up the system with you. It doesn't mean they're perfect at navigating conflict. It's that they're open to this conversation. And my friend was recently dating someone and they're like in the first 6 months and they came upon this mini conflict. It always starts with like a mini conflict. It was something about her being late for something. She had to get ready and he was being passive about it. So she kind of addressed it. She's like, oh, I felt like you were a little tense in that situation. And he's like, I don't want to talk about it. Why are you bringing it up? It's over. I don't want to talk about it. He kind of blew up at her. Yeah. So then she went and dug a little deeper. She's like, what did that bring up for you? And he's like, I'm sorry, my mom used to talk to me this way and it just makes me feel like a little boy. It makes me feel like you don't respect me as a man, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so all of this came out. So now they've established a system where it's like, okay, when we have these conversations, I'm not your mother, so let's be clear about that. But I do respect you and I do want to work through this together. So now they're like nearing the end of the honeymoon period. And she's like, I'm feeling really good about our relationship because I feel like now that we have some guardrails in place, I'm not like scrambling for an answer or for him to react in a certain way.
Yeah. I mean, I would say it can even be in the first month. It could be even earlier.
Oh, yeah. Bring it on. Bring it on the first month.
I had something I worked through with my partner in the fourth date. Something came up, a misunderstanding.
Oh.
And the old me would have just like been done and not really like work through it. But, from this podcast, I still remember the episode we did with Connor Beaton and Vienna Farron about a healthy relationship. We had this whole outline. We were so excited to get into everything. The entire convo was around conflict. They were just like, nope, this is it. You need to find someone you can navigate conflict with. So that was like ingrained in my head and we worked through it. And I think today that has been one of the biggest strengths in our relationship is that when something comes up, we say it and we navigate it and we repair it. And I think repair is so important. It's something that I learned about in couples therapy more that I feel like it's not talked about enough. It's not just having conflict, but leaving stronger than when you started. And I really do believe all the bumps in the road that inevitably happen in any real long-term relationship have actually made us stronger as we navigated through them and repaired from them.
In a certain way, it's kind of a funny way to look at it, but conflict is your tool for creating a blueprint for your relationship.
Yeah.
Without conflict, you don't know where the boundaries are. So the conflict actually brings you to these borderline areas. It's like a pinball machine. And then you bounce back and then you bounce back and you bounce back and you start creating this blueprint. I also know people in relationships, marriages, for decades who've never navigated conflict, who've never created this blueprint, and they just rupture and they never repair. And you know what that builds? Rupture to repair, no repair to resentment. It's the third R. It's bad.
Yue and I were together last week and we went to lunch and we were talking and I asked you a question. I was like, well, I think as we keep talking about like conscious relationships and I'm like, okay, right now I have so much time to devote to my relationship. But what happens when you have kids? What happens when you have more responsibility? Because we've seen a lot of our friends not have conscious relationships. They're kind of just like passing through and more like co-parents. And I was like, I want to do an episode where we talk to like Dr. Alexandra Solomon or like Damona Hoffman, like people that I look at them and I'm like, oh, they still have conscious relationships, even though they've children, they have responsibilities, all the other stuff. Yeah. And I remember you being like, we totally should, but I can also tell you what the secret is right now from my friends that I've talked to. It's like not brushing things under the table and it's addressing and taking ownership. And I think like if you have a partner that does not take accountability and they blame you, that is a really unhappy, unhealthy place to be in marriage. How much would you rather have known early on if that was going to be the way they reacted to any sign of friction? Personally, that's why this is in the 7 things that matter. Is if someone blows up to you, says it's all your fault, that is a huge red flag, if not a deal breaker.
And for anybody who's like, oh, but we never fight. We just have one of those relationships. We just never have conflict. Bullshit. Calling bullshit on that. It means one of you is ignoring the conflicts. One of you is a people pleaser. One of you is suppressing their needs. Maybe both of you. There's just no boundaries drawn in this relationship. It is complete bullshit to not have fights in any relationship.
Or it's just incredibly surface level. That's the other theory I have. Because I think like when I didn't have conflict with partners in the past, it's because I wasn't really doing my life with them.
Yeah, right. You're not going deep.
No. Okay, well, I'm glad we got that one out of the way. I guess the takeaway here, though, is don't be afraid to scare away the wrong people. Scare them off. State your needs.
Boom.
And if they can't come and work with you, like, do you want to be walking on eggshells? You do not want to do that.
Not for
you
a
want to be
lifetime.
able to, and do you want to feel like you have to suppress everything? No. So find someone that you can do conflict with. This is a huge green flag to move forward.
Yes.
Okay. Before we get into number 5, let's take a quick break to hear from our sponsors. I know firsthand how much stress can mess with your hormones. Between work, life, and everything else, it's easy to feel completely out of balance. That's where Happy Mammoth comes in. They offer a free 2-minute quiz that can help you uncover the root cause of your hormonal symptoms. It's super easy. Just answer a few questions about what you're going through and where you're at in life. You'll get a personalized recommendation to help balance your hormones and start feeling better. When I took the quiz, it suggested that my body may be overloaded with hormone estrogen and may be struggling to metabolize it. By taking Hormone Harmony, it could help with bloating, anxiety, fatigue, overwhelm, and so much more. With over 40,000 5-star reviews and a bottle selling every 24 seconds, the results speak for themselves. So if you're ready to start feeling like yourself again, head over to happymammoth.com and take their free 2-minute hormone quiz today to find the ultimate answers to your stubborn hormonal issues. And for a limited time, you could also get 15% off your entire first order with our code DATEABLE at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use the code DATEABLE for 15% off today. Okay, number 5, they're aligned on what you're looking for. I think this is really important because I've learned this the hard way, is that you cannot change someone. You cannot make someone want something that you want that they do not want. That doesn't mean that like everything needs to be like 100% and you need to have your whole future mapped. We're not saying that. But if one of you like knows you want to have a family and children and the other is like, hell no, that is going to be an upward battle. Even as simple as I want to be in a committed relationship. I don't.
Yes.
I've tried to change people and turn them, and let's just say that does not end well.
Yes. It doesn't have to be the far, far future, but it has to be the near future. It has to be like, I can see myself committing to someone monogamously for at least a few years versus someone coming in hot with like, I believe in polyamory and I want to explore relationships outside the relationship before you even have a relationship with them. Those are two completely different things. And I think the children question is not completely clear for everybody. Maybe one person's very clear on what they're looking for and the other person's like, I'm not sure. But the not sure people has to also align with the fact that I am willing to walk towards your direction.
Yes.
I may not be sure right now, but I'm willing to have this conversation and actually think about it in that way.
Well, I think the key is extremes. Like if someone is just on an extreme, it's going to be really hard to work together as a team. And I remember like I dated someone, and I've always been a maybe on children. And I dated someone that was a hard no. And I didn't really like that either. It's like, wait, so like it's off the table?
Completely off the table. Yeah.
And I was still like around. That's not why our relationship ended. It ended because he had to leave the country. But it's not because like of this specific piece. Maybe down the line, it would have actually been a problem. I think I was not as conscious then. Did not have the 7 things that matter to look out for.
No.
But then also in my last relationship,
Current current
relationship when we first started
which is
dating.
your last relationship.
Yes, I guess. Yeah. It just sounds different when you say it that way. But when we first met, he wanted kids. Like, if we don't have kids, he's not going to like leave me and not want to be together. Like, it's not that extreme, but he's like, oh yeah, I've always seen kids in my future. I want to have a family and I want to do that part of life. At the beginning, I was like, I'm unsure. Like, I could go either way because it was after the, time with the hard no, which made me reconsider and be like, oh, maybe I do want this. Yeah. So the thing is though, like, I think because he wasn't a hard yes and I wasn't a hard no, I was like, okay, let's keep going with it. But something shifted for me actually, like as we dated, because I think for the first time I could visualize it with someone. In the past, like I couldn't actually see having kids with someone. And it took me to like be like, oh, like I could do this and I could like have a partner that like this makes sense with. And I think also my niece was born. I fell in love with her and that changed my perception too. But then I think, like again, the partnership did. And that like made me want to freeze my eggs and like continue to do, that journey. And like, who knows what will happen for us fully? Like we are elders, but I think like the fact that like it can grow and it wasn't, a hell no or a hell yes for either one, it made it be adaptable.
It's a hard maybe.
Hard maybe,
It's a hard maybe for everything. And I think that makes it easier to align because we get stuck these days on getting to the hell yes. We think, both of you have to be aligned on the hell yes. But no, it's a hard maybe because who knows? The future is so unpredictable.
Yeah.
You just have to be like an inch towards the same direction.
Yes.
You don't have to be like, fuck yes, this is what I want. If kids aren't in the picture, if both of you are like, nah, I don't really see kids in the picture, step out of it and then ask like, what is the vision for this relationship?
Yeah.
What is the vision for a long-term relationship? What does that really look and feel like for you? And you may be really surprised because some people will say, well, I envision a relationship where we're traveling all the time and we live in a different city every year. We're exploring, we're da-da-da. And the other person's like, oh, actually, I envision a relationship where we settle down in one town and then we're creating community there and we're close to my family. Those are two very different extremes. Those aren't hard maybes. And we just don't have these conversations up front because we just assume we're also aligned. We must be aligned because we like each other. And it's not that simple.
We actually had at one of our events, someone ask, when can you start asking these questions on dates?
Yeah.
And I felt like my response was like early because I actually think it's better then because it's not as personal about you two as a couple. It's more about like, this is what I'm into or where I see my life going.
Yes.
And also you could ask questions like, is that a total deal breaker for you? Or like, you don't have to say it in that term, but like, like get curious about it because like, I don't know. I think people can also change too. Yeah. Like, I don't think you should bank on change, but I also don't want to discount that like something that someone says in early stage might not be forever. Like for me, I remember I was like, oh yeah, I'm living in San Francisco forever when I first met my partner. And I remember him like he was looking for jobs when we first met and he was like thinking about like applying to Amazon. And I was like, oh, I don't, like, is this going to be a deal breaker? First of all, it didn't even work out. So it was like a mute point. But then also now I'm like, I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to moving somewhere else 100%. Like I think that's changed a bit.
Yeah. It's a yes and. I'm open to what the future could bring for us, but also know that you have to stay true to you. Remember the Tahoe guy that I dated? He didn't live in Tahoe. It's just his name. Yeah. But like a pseudo date we went on, he's like, we're both from Colorado. He's like, I'm going back to Colorado. I'm like, for sure. I'm going to settle down in Colorado. And I think to please him, I said, yeah, me too. I love Colorado. I'm going to settle down.
No.
Hell no. I left Colorado because I didn't want to be in Colorado. Yeah. Why am I going back? But I just remember that was like a reflex I had. Yes, just be in agreement because that's what's going to establish established that rapport. But yeah, if I were to have that conversation nowadays, I'd be like, sorry, we're just not aligned on what we're looking for.
Right. And I think that again, I feel like a broken record here, but that is the key is like, do you have like a visceral reaction when someone says something versus you're like, oh, maybe I could do that. Like that could work. I think that's different than like banking on someone to change versus being open to the change that could happen in life.
For sure. For sure.
Okay. Last but not least, let's bring it home.
So simple. They want to be with you. They simply want to be with you.
So simple, yet we forget it sometimes.
Well, I mean, at the core of the statement is the right person doesn't need to be convinced to be with you or to be convinced that you're right for them. The right person just wants to be with you because they want to be with you.
And we're not saying like expect on date one that all of a sudden you're the center of someone's world. In fact, that actually could be a red flag if that happens.
Yeah.
But you also do know when someone's like prioritizing you. Like it's not a struggle to make plans with them and to like fit inside their busy schedule. Their schedule is adapting because you are a priority to them. Maybe you're not the number one priority yet because you just met, but you are a priority.
Yes. And this is very much related to the consistency too, because the right person wants to be with you. And when you feel that, it comes with a level of ease. It should feel somewhat easy to be with this person. Does not mean that relationships don't take effort. And of course, you're going to get into conflicts. But to be around this person, to have time with person should feel easy.
So I generally agree with that. The consistency and this are intertwined, but I think there could be some situations where you are getting consistent effort, but maybe like they don't actually want to be with you. And I think like I had one that I'm thinking of is someone that was coming out of a divorce. We had him on the podcast and I was his first date in 12 years. And he was consistently texting me like nonstop, also making plans. But there was this feeling of like they were there, but not really there, if that makes sense. And I think that's where there's a little bit of deviation sometimes. I'd say generally, yes, consistency and they want to be you correlate, but there could be a time. That's why I think like texts and all that stuff, it's like one gauge, but it's not like the entire picture of if someone is really showing up and wants to be with you.
Yeah, kind of like fill in or just replace this person with this person. It's easy to be consistent, especially when you're coming out of a relationship. That's what you're used to, is that consistency. But wanting to be with someone takes effort. So maybe this is the one level above consistency. It's consistency with effort. And you know when someone is making an effort to see you. You know because they're making room in their calendar for you. They are including you in their plans, or at least addressing their plans with you. They're checking in every once in a while, even if you're not physically together. This person has you in mind because you are already a part of their life.
We say this a lot in the book, but when you start becoming someone's PR agent, justifying their actions or inactions, like they're not showing up, or it's clear they actually don't want a relationship and they don't want to be with you. Take note of that, because that is something that we should not be brushing under the rug. I feel like so many situationships I was in, it was apparent from day one, but I was like, no, I don't need to go there. I'm going to like see the good only. And also I didn't want to tell myself that, right? I didn't want to be honest because it meant that like this would blow up and it would end and I'd be with nobody. But again, being with nobody is actually better than being with somebody that isn't going to ultimately give you what you want and need.
This is the opposite of a situationship. A situationship is the inconsistent effort that someone puts in, and you never know when you're going to see them. You never know when you're going to hear from them. And the excitement comes from the unpredictability of all that. But if you are looking for a relationship, just think opposite of a situationship. This person will consistently make an effort. And I think the making an effort is something that is so overlooked these days because people are so casually hanging out. Like it's just, oh, I'm free on Saturday. I'm going to get groceries. Maybe I'll see you after. It's that. That's not effort. Effort is, I want to make time for you on Saturday so we can spend some time together.
I think effort is also like deeply getting to know you and wanting to build a connection beyond just like, setting up plans. Like I think at the core of it, we all want to feel supported and valued in our relationships. And if we're not feeling that with someone, we should have the conversations to understand why. Or if we really still can't feel that way, then that's a sign that this person is not right for you. And that's okay. Like, I think that's something to think about too, is with all of these 7 things, we might not know the answers immediately when we first start dating someone. Sometimes it takes time to like reveal each other and what's going on. Some of them might be obvious, or some of them might be obvious in a negative way, which gives you info also. But I think with all relationships, we need to dive in the sense of giving it a real chance and trying to like be committed to this person to see if it could be something. And then we constantly evaluate. And that's not like saying that we need to do like a 30-day check-in necessarily to like give you a performance review, but it's having conversations and like seeing, is this an aligned match for the two of us?
I like bringing this list to a partner, and you can do this at any point in your relationship, and just being like, am I doing these things for you?
Yeah.
Do you feel like I am filling this list, and where can I improve on so that it puts you in the accountability role? And then maybe they can do the reverse as well. So you're not like pointing fingers, but of course in any relationship, you might fall off on 1 or 2 of these things because life gets in the way. And then you just get back on the horse because it's all about course correcting.
Maybe it is that simple, that of having this list, not only at the start of a relationship, but at the various checkpoints. Because I do think of like relationships that have been going for a while, and sometimes like you get off track.
For sure.
Maybe they're not bringing out the best sides of you anymore. They did at one point, and it's like, okay, how do we get that back?
Right. So yes, we gave you 6, but there are 7 things that matter.
We're gatekeeping 1.
The 7th one is quite surprising. It's actually a test. Yes, we don't love tests, but this is a test that we truly
get behind this test.
Yeah, we truly believe in this test. So remember to pick up the book or the audiobook to find out what that 7th thing is.
Awesome. Well, pick it up for even more than that, because this book will
way more.
change your life. I mean, I wish I had this book early in dating, but also it took going through the experiences to learn a lot and get here, but we're trying to pay it forward and help anyone that is on their dating journey right now. So howtobedateable.com, make sure to pick it up.
And follow us on Instagram at Dateable Podcast, where you can find all the news and musings from the Dateable fam. All right, wrapping up this episode.
Stay dateable.